What do you think you know about horror? I'm sure the first thought that comes to mind would be a slasher movie like Scream, or Halloween, maybe a horror story like Bloody Mary or La Llorona, but there's so much more to be explored within the genre that makes these examples just scratch the surface. Horror has been a very important topic to me for some time now. Even before I watched It for the first time in 2019, odd occurrences with clowns popped up in my life. My mom told me that once when I was really little in Florida, a clown literally followed us down the street for blocks. And back in 2017, I had a bookmark contest for my school's library and I made fan art for the movie without having even seen it. When I finally watched the movie in 2019, my whole worldview was open to the genre. Almost as if there was a red string of fate connecting me to it, the movie has led me into the genre that has inspired me in numerous ways, and I'd like to give it the love and recognition it deserves. Do you think you love horror movies?
I don't know. I used to be terrified of them. But I think maybe it's because I've grown more, so I understand it.
Many big screen horror movies surprisingly fall under the radar. As mentioned before, there are iconic names on the scene such as Friday the 13th or The Exorcist, but these just touch the surface of what horror could be with supernatural demons or slashers. There are many other subgenres that have begun to grow in popularity nowadays that manage to show the different faces of horror. Psychological, found footage, folk, and art house are just some genres I'd like to introduce.
I think it's definitely changed me for the better. Like, I don't get as scared of like spooky looking monsters anymore. It's like I like to understand the reasons behind it now instead of just being like, oh, it's scary because it looks scary. Like, tell me why it's supposed to be scary instead.
Its main tool in doing this are its lighting, shadow, and sound. Shadow and lighting help hide the intentions of what is yet to be seen, with the lighting giving the reveal while also building upon metaphors or hidden truths that are prominent within most stories within our subject. Sound builds upon this, as the type of music or lack thereof can make or break in building suspense. Hereditary is the best at this, as the music by composer Colin Stenson has become iconic and are executed in a phenomenal way. His work makes itself easily recognizable beyond this movie as well. I was watching a new horror anime by the name of Uzumaki, and was immediately able to recognize his work without having known he would be composing beforehand. I believe this is due to the fact of how unique it is, and that it generates a very surreal and almost Lovecraftian vibe to me. Expanding on that, would you say that's why you love horror movies, or is there more to that?
I think so. I think that's the reason I like it, because kind of like music, it's like an extreme way for people to convey messages, and it's not easily digestible, but I guess for me it is, because like sitting and watching someone talk for long periods of time is distracting, so watching a horror movie you can be engaged in, it makes you like think about things more. So
most of the horror within this genre also explores more diverse themes that others tend to draw away from. I Saw the TV Glow explores themes of identity in a broad sense, but also most notably with LGBT tones behind it. The Babadook explores motherhood and the negative sides to that life that may not be easily conveyed within another genre. It's wonderful to see it on the rise and getting the recognition it deserves, with films under this genre becoming household names too, such as Suspiria, Donnie Darko, and even animation such as Perfect Blue. Crossing over into a much more narrow genre, folk horror has seen a small growth in popularity in the 21st century, with works such as The Witch and Midsummer gaining much more traction. These works don't rely on the evil hiding in the dark, and most of the time do quite the opposite, with having them be in broad daylight. Folk horror draws upon these themes from folklore and beliefs of the people's actions rather than supernatural entities themselves, and often give us an outsider look to experience the films through.
I feel like I like that it takes you out of the present moment, and it kind of forces you into the world of the story. Especially when you watch it in theaters, it's really fun because you're like in there with the characters and you're experiencing everything that they're experiencing, and it kind of gets like your blood pumping, it gets your adrenaline moving, and you're kind of just like, oh my gosh, what if this happened in real life? Or sometimes it does happen in real life, and I'm kind of just there experiencing it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta think about things for a second, because sometimes it takes you out and makes you think about things in a different, more extreme way, but it like affects like your perception of things.
This genre also encourages exploration into other countries to find even more stories. Southeast Asian regions such as Indonesia and Thailand have much more prominent folk beliefs that are easy to draw upon, especially to a Westerner. Finally, one of the main inspirations to our modern-day online horror is found footage. The Blair Witch Project being one of the most iconic, not only for its originality and style at the time, but also its advertising surrounding its release, making the audience believe that what they were watching was real. This helped it build upon its iconic first-person perspective style often used in the genre. However, there are exceptions, such as CCTV footage or mockumentary filming styles. The reality of what the viewer is watching, similar to online horror, is what builds upon the fear of these films. The VHS series has popularized it in the 21st century, but paranormal activity and incantation have also become iconic to the genre and have had their hand in its rise. The last horror movie I saw was The Substance. I believe this was my first time ever seeing a body horror in theaters, which was impactful since that's the one thing that really scares me. The gore and grotesque abnormalities of changing bodies really had me on the edge of my seat and covering my eyes, reminding me why I love horror. It's unique, it's creative, it inspires me. It genuinely got my blood pumping, which is something I haven't felt in a while, and I'm very happy to get to experience again. Whether you consider yourself a casual fan or an expert, there's always an untapped area within horror that has yet to be seen. This exploration is simply an introduction to what there is to be seen, and even then, there's always more to come.